In 1235, in rural China, a man was found dead. His body showed blunt force trauma to the face and the chest. The village had a suspect, but no real proof. A government official named Song Chi arrived to investigate. He asked every farmer in the village to lay their sickle on the ground in front of him. Dozens of sickles lined up in the afternoon sun. Then something strange happened. Flies began gathering on one specific sickle, just one, out of dozens. The metal looked clean to the human eye, but the flies knew better. They could detect trace amounts of blood that had dried into the iron. The farmer who owned that sickle eventually confessed. That was the first documented case of forensic entomology, 800 years ago, and the science has only gotten sharper since. Maggots don't get enough credit. Most people's reaction to them is instinctive disgust, and that's fair. But what they're doing biologically is remarkable. They are nature's cleanup crew. When an animal dies in the wild, flies locate the body within minutes. They lay eggs. Those eggs become larvae, maggots, and those maggots begin breaking down organic matter, returning nutrients back to the soil. Without them, the world would be buried in its own dead. That's the gift. But the gift works in two directions. The same precision that makes maggots efficient decomposers makes them extremely useful to us. Because they don't just eat a body randomly, they follow a schedule. Here's how it works. A body is exposed, outdoors, in a car, in an abandoned building. Flies detect it within minutes through smell, sometimes from miles away. The first to arrive are typically blowflies, the iridescent green and blue ones you've probably seen. They don't waste time. Within hours, they've laid eggs in the natural openings of the body, the mouth, the nose, the eyes, and any open wounds. Those eggs hatch into first instar larvae, tiny, pale, barely visible. Within 12 to 24 hours, they molt into second instar, then third. Each stage is identifiable under a microscope by the size of the larvae, the development of their mouth hooks, their body length. After the third instar, the larvae migrate away from the body, burrow into surrounding soil, and pupate, forming a hard brown casing while they transform into adult flies. From egg to adult, roughly 10 to 25 days, depending on temperature, and that timeline is the key to everything. When investigators arrive at a death scene, one of the first questions is, how long has this person been dead? The official term is the post-mortem interval, PMI, and in many cases, a medical examiner can only estimate it to within a range of days, sometimes weeks. That's where forensic entomologists step in. They collect samples of larvae from the body, they identify the species, they measure the stage of development. Then, using temperature data from weather records, because maggot development is directly tied to heat accumulation, tracked through something called accumulated degree hours, they calculate backwards to the moment of death, down to within a few hours sometimes. That's not an approximation, that's a timestamp built by biology. But the problems don't stop at time of death. If a body was moved after death, the insect evidence can prove it. Flies native to a coastal environment on a body found inland. Larvae from species that only colonize bodies in open fields, found inside an enclosed space. The insects don't lie. They colonize where they find the body. If the insects and the location don't match, someone moved it. Toxicology is another one. When a person dies from a drug overdose, those compounds absorb into the tissue and then into the maggots feeding on that tissue. Even when the body is too decomposed for traditional toxicology testing, the larvae themselves can be analyzed for traces of heroin, cocaine, prescription medications. The maggots become a chemical record of what was in the body at the time of death. And in cases where a body has been dismembered or burned, where visual identification is impossible and traditional timelines can't be established, insect evidence often becomes the primary evidence. There's something almost precise about the way this works. A crime is committed, a body is left, and within minutes, nature begins its process, a process that evolved over millions of years to clean up death. But in doing so, it starts keeping a record that a trained forensic entomologist can read. Song Chi understood this intuitively in 1235. He wrote about it in a book called The Washing Away of Wrongs, the first known forensic science manual in recorded history. He argued that careful observation of nature could reveal truths that human testimony simply could not. He was right then. He's still right now.